It's amazing how something as personal as how we choose to express ourselves, like even down to a simple haircut, can suddenly become this huge battleground in public debate.
Yeah, it really is. And that's actually what we're diving deep into today, a proposal in Arkansas that kind of throws a spotlight on just that, like how much attention something like a haircut can get in the political arena.
Yeah, for real. So today we're going to be looking at this piece of proposed legislation about haircuts, and we're going to be basing our deep dive on this really fascinating YouTube video we found from the Ring of Fire.
Right, exactly. And by the way, folks, just want to make it clear up front that we're not taking sides or endorsing any particular viewpoint here. Our goal is to present the information from the video as objectively as possible and really just unpack what this bill is about and what the potential consequences could be according to this source.
Exactly. Yeah. So just to kind of set the stage for you listeners, what we want to do today is break down the specifics of this Arkansas bill.
Yeah.
What exactly does it say? What are the kind of broader implications of this kind of law? And maybe most importantly, what are some of the potential real-world consequences that the video highlights?
Right. All really crucial questions. So should we just jump right into it? Like, what's at the heart of this proposed law?
Yeah, let's do it. So what exactly is this legislation trying to regulate?
Well, according to the video, the proposed bill in Arkansas focuses on banning something called gender non-conforming haircuts.
Okay, gender non-conforming haircuts. That's a pretty loaded term. What exactly does that mean, like, in practice?
Yeah, it's interesting how the video breaks this down. It basically says it refers to hairstyles that don't typically match up with the gender someone was assigned at birth. So, for example, if you know someone who was assigned male at birth wants what traditionally considered a feminine haircut, or the other way around, it could potentially be something this bill would target.
So wait, you're saying that, like, just choosing a certain hairstyle could actually have legal repercussions? Like, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the video is getting at. The video really dives into some of the potential fallout from this, especially for hairdressers and even, get this, teachers.
Teachers? How do teachers even get pulled into this?
I know, right? Well, the video highlights how, under this proposed law, both hairdressers and teachers could be sued for what it calls affirming a young person's gender identity. And that could be something as simple as a hairdresser giving a haircut that aligns with how a young person identifies, or a teacher using a student's preferred pronouns.
So it's not even just about the act of cutting hair. It's about, like, the whole idea of acknowledging and respecting someone's gender identity. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, absolutely. And the video even goes on to talk about a specific bill, HB 1/1668, and this idea of civil enforcement, which sounds really complicated.
Civil enforcement. Okay, so what exactly does that mean, and how does it apply to this whole situation?
So the video really zeroes in on this House Bill 1668 in Arkansas, and it basically says it would weaponize civil enforcement. And what's really interesting here is that instead of just relying on state authorities, this bill would actually allow individuals, specifically minors or their parents, to sue people who they believe are supporting transgender youth.
Wow, so, like, anyone could just sue anyone else. That seems like it could get out of hand really quickly.
Right. And according to the video, that support could include things like providing or helping a young person get gender-affirming care, or even just acknowledging that they're transitioning, like using their correct pronouns.
So basically, just being supportive of a trans kid could open you up to a lawsuit.
That seems to be what the video is suggesting. And on top of that, the video also mentions some pretty serious financial penalties.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. The video mentions some pretty significant damages, right?
Yeah, it's pretty alarming. The video says the bill lays out minimum damages of $10,000. But here's the kicker for certain kinds of medical care. Those damages could skyrocket to $10 million in punitive damages.
$10 million. Are you serious?
Yeah, and the video argues that this could potentially apply not just to medical interventions, but also to things like haircuts and pronoun usage. So basically, you could be hit with a $10 million lawsuit for giving someone a haircut that aligns with their gender identity.
That's insane. Like, a haircut could literally bankrupt someone.
It's really concerning, right? And it ties into the bill's definition of social transitioning, which is something the video spends a lot of time unpacking.
Yeah, I remember that part. So what does this bill actually consider social transitioning?
The video says the bill defines social transitioning really broadly. It's basically any act by which a minor adopts or espouses a gender identity that differs from the minor's biological sex.
So basically anything that signals a young person is trans.
Pretty much. And the video gives some specific examples: changing clothes, using different pronouns, getting a different hairstyle, even changing your name.
So under this bill, those everyday things could all be considered part of social transitioning and therefore potentially subject to legal action.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, the video uses a couple of really vivid examples.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
What are some of the real-life scenarios that the video uses to kind of show what this could look like in practice?
So the video describes two main scenarios. The first one is a teacher in Arkansas who uses a student's preferred pronouns. Based on the video's interpretation of the bill, that simple act, just trying to be respectful, could lead to a lawsuit with those huge damages we talked about, up to $10 million.
Wow, that seems so disproportionate.
Right. The second example is a 16-year-old who identifies as transgender going to a hairdresser and asking for a haircut that aligns with their gender identity. If the hairdresser gives them that haircut, they could also face those massive fines.
Just for doing their job.
Pretty much. And these examples really hit home because they show how something as seemingly innocuous as a haircut or using someone's preferred pronouns could have these huge, life-altering consequences.
Yeah, it's really eye-opening. Now, the video doesn't just lay out the details of the bill, right? It also kind of takes aim at the Arkansas legislature and its priorities.
Oh, yeah, it definitely gets into that.
So what are some of the criticisms and counterarguments that the video raises about this whole situation?
The video really slams the Arkansas legislature, saying that this focus on haircuts and pronouns seems way out of line when you look at how the state is doing in other areas. It points out some pretty shocking statistics. Arkansas is ranked 47th in education, 48th in healthcare. It has the 7th highest poverty rate in the country, and the highest maternal mortality rate.
Yikes, those are some pretty serious issues.
Right. And the video's point is that the legislature should be focusing on these bigger problems, things like improving healthcare to prevent maternal deaths, making education better, instead of getting caught up in regulating personal expression for things like haircuts.
It sounds like the video is saying there are some much more pressing issues that deserve the legislature's attention.
Exactly. And it argues that these other issues would actually do a lot more to help and protect children and families in Arkansas.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. But before we go any further, it's really important to remind everyone that everything we've discussed today is based solely on the information presented in that Ring of Fire YouTube video.
Right. We're not trying to push any particular agenda here or tell you what to think. We just want to unpack the content of the video and present the information and arguments as objectively as possible.
Exactly. So to recap, we talked about this proposed bill in Arkansas that would ban gender nonconforming haircuts. We looked at the potential legal risks for hairdressers and teachers, the whole concept of civil enforcement, the crazy high financial penalties, and the bill's broad definition of social transitioning.
Right. And we also touched on the criticisms raised in the video about the Arkansas legislature's priorities, arguing that maybe they should be focusing on other, arguably more urgent problems.
Okay, so all this brings us to a pretty big question for all of you listening. When we think about all the different challenges that states are facing and all the different laws that are being proposed, what does this particular bill, the way it's described in the video, tell us about what's considered important right now? What does it say about the values that are being emphasized in these legislative decisions?
That's a really thought-provoking question, and it gets at something much bigger than just haircuts. This bill, the way the video portrays it, raises questions about personal freedom, the role of adults in supporting young people, and the kind of society we're creating through these laws.
It's definitely a lot to think about, and that's something we encourage everyone to do. Think critically about these issues, consider the potential consequences, and really engage in these conversations, because at the end of the day, these decisions affect all of us, whether we realize it or not.
Well said. Couldn't agree more. It's crucial to stay informed, think for ourselves, and make our voices heard. These are complex issues that deserve careful consideration.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our deep dive today. Hope you found this exploration informative and thought-provoking. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.